We are just about at the midpoint of the Winter Olympics, and they have been one of the most unusual and more controversial games given COVID and China's record on human rights. Even so, athletes are trying to compete under enormous pressure at the highest levels. Amna Nawaz gets the perspective of an Olympic great.
Judy, this first week has seen its share of disappointments for the Americans, but there have been electric moments as well, featuring Chloe Kim, Nathan Chen, and Lindsay Jacobellis, to name just a few. And there's also a lot of attention on Eileen Gu, who was born in the U.S. but is competing for China, her mother's home country. For more on the games from an athlete's perspective, I'm joined by former speed skater Apolo Ohno. He is the most decorated Winter Olympian in U.S. history with 8 medals, including 2 golds. Apolo Ohno, welcome to the NewsHour. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
So how does the most decorated American Winter Olympian of all time watch the Olympics? Can you just kick back and kind of watch, or are you screaming at the TV the whole time?
I watch them the same way that everyone else watches them on the road, like when I'm in transit, when I'm flying, when I have access to just consume this as much as possible. I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes to watch the events live, and I cheer and scream and cry and smile and shout at the screen like I think everyone else does. I think the difference now is that I'm no longer obviously on the field of play. I'm on the opposite side, so I know what it feels like pre-competition when they're about to go down, a slope or do something. It's pretty spectacular. So, but I get involved just like anyone else. And by the way, a lot of this happens when I'm just alone and I find myself screaming at the television, which is really fun.
Apolo Ohno is just like the rest of us. So who have you been watching? What have been some of the standout moments to you so far?
Well, I've watched everything so far. I've watched all the speed skating. I've watched the snowboarding. I've watched the skiing. I've watched, obviously because of my bias with short track speed skating and long track in its essence is something that I love to see. I mean, to me, these games are unprecedented. They're unlike anything that these athletes have ever experienced before. And the past 2 years have been unprecedented, unlike anything else all of us have ever experienced before. And so this is a dramatically different Olympics. Obviously, you know as well as I do the geopolitical tension that exists there, a lot of different conversations that are happening around what can and cannot be said when on the podium or even there inside a foreign country. But make no mistake, these athletes still want to perform their best. And they're having more open conversations around how they feel, how they're performing, the stress and the pressures associated, and how the athletes can really rise to be their best versions of themselves.
I want to unpack some of those points you just made, but also to ask you about kind of another unprecedented moment, which is just this Asian American excellence we are witnessing. You heard me list some of those names there, Nathan Chen and Chloe Kim and Eileen Gu. Why do you think it took till this moment to have that kind of representation in these games?
That's a great question. I think that, and hopefully, maybe I had some semblance of a fraction of a percent to do with that when other athletes were looking and seeing someone who was biracial, who looked like them, maybe had a similar background of growing up in a single parent household. I think at the end of the day, this is something that is a long time coming, right? I mean, representation, no matter where you're from, what you look like, who you identify as, is a really important aspect of making sure these athletes are going there to be their best. And it does take a few cycles of the Olympic Games. For example, when I competed in my first games in 2002, 8 years later in 2010, there were kids who were on my Olympic team who started skating because they watched the 2002 Olympic Games. And so this phenomena and dream is very real, where we identify with someone that looks similar to us. They have some kind of background and story that resonates with us, and or they just understand that the Olympic movement is pretty spectacular. So I think it's important to recognize what's happening in terms of the Asian American representation, but make no mistake, these athletes are going there representing as athletes to be the best versions of themselves.
We're hearing a lot about athletes' backgrounds, which kind of gives us much more of a complete picture of them, but we're also having a conversation about mental health. And credit where it's due, after the Tokyo Games and what Simone Biles went through and talked about openly and bravely, it's very much a part of these Beijing Games as well. I'm curious if you can tell us, what do you think most people don't understand about the unique pressure faced by Olympians?
Well, I think it's challenging to see or understand why someone would dedicate 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of their life for a race that lasts 40 seconds long. And in that race, at a particular Olympic Games, the difference between first place, being on the cover of Wheaties, getting the commercial attributes associated, being celebrated and recognized, and effectively your recognition being changed overnight, to being in fourth place, just off of the podium, no one knows or watched, no one remembers even a few days after the Olympic Games are finished. And that difference between gold and off the podium is two claps. So this entire pressure around these athletes who are going to the games, everything is riding on this one moment, and being so married to the outcome and the result is challenging. I think it is a different time. We're talking about mental health, the associated challenges with micro trauma and trauma that exist throughout the experience of a human, whether it's sport and or not, is important and it's good. And we should be having these open conversations. More importantly, to me, how we identify with the word strength and champion and what that means to us. And when I grew up, the conditioning that I had was doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter your emotion, your job is to churn metals and perform under the highest amounts of pressure possible. And that is what you have to do. You have to do at all costs, even if it comes down to your own internal unhappiness. And so now we're moving towards a society that says, hey, I can be strong, I can be extremely performant, I can win medals, and I can also be vulnerable, show empathy, and show that I'm actually human. And I have the same type of insecurities and self doubts and maybe missteps that everyone else does who's watching.
Do you ever look back and say, man, I wish I had that kind of support, that kind of ability to talk about all this stuff when I was coming up?
I mean, it's easy to say yes to that type of a question. I think that life has been a gift to me in every essence. And good, bad, right or wrong, if I always stand back up. I do my best to dust myself off and recalibrate. And life is hard. One of my favorite quotes of all time, with these poems is, good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees. And everyone carries their own pain, their experiences with them throughout life. But those are just mere chapters. And the way that you respond and react to them are really important. Do I wish I had an outlet to speak about? I don't know if I even would have. I don't know if I was comfortable in my own skin to be able to even actually let people into my mind. So it's easy to say yes, but I take everything that I've had with immense gratitude, and I'm grateful for the challenges that I've been able to shoulder. And as I grow and I hopefully become a more wholesome human, maybe we can deliver these types of insights to the next generation so they can be better. They can show up for the communities, find purpose, and ultimately show up fully on a daily basis.
I can't think of a more inspiring message to end this week on, whether you're an Olympian or not. Apolo Ohno, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Inspiring for sure. Thank you.